Mm, Hi everybody. This is my first live stream on this channel. I've been waiting for this hundreds of subscribers. Sorry, I don't like to talk short, so I'm not gonna confuse it with submarines or sandwiches for that matter. I say 100 subscribers. Um, I'm gonna be going out with my friends in a little bit, so I gotta get ready to go. But anyone who comes here, well, consider yourself welcome. Um, I live in, for those who, I know I have a large global audience and not a domestic, from the data that I look at, so I live near Boston, Massachusetts, okay, so that old city, where WGBH, now GBH, is based. Harvard, which is actually in Middlesex County, Massachusetts, in Cambridge, city of Cambridge. A lot of people don't even know what Massachusetts is because all they know is Boston. But there's more to New England than Boston, according to the old WNEC TV Channel 7's tagline back in the day. They ran a promo in the late 1970s, having news bureaus outside of Boston, and the tagline was more to New England than just Boston. So New Hampshire is the bordering state of Massachusetts. We border Vermont and Maine, and we border Quebec. So we are literally a border state from Canada. I know I'm talking very potentially down the audience here, but again, I don't think people really know much about the U.S. and how we have 50 different jurisdictions. So I need to emphasize that because New Hampshire was the first state in the United States to close down institutions. And for people like me, 33 years ago. And the days that followed the closure of the Laconia State School, it wasn't immediate. There's been a lot of challenges for the older people, but there was another track as Laconia closed. A lot of people were going into the special education in the schools, Section 504. The state of New Hampshire knew about that. Their statistics, when they closed down Laconia, they did warn about rising spike cases in Section 504. And our leadership in the state government did absolutely nothing. The family support groups did absolutely nothing. The self-advocate groups did absolutely nothing. So the New Hampshire Family Support Council, ABLE-NH, all these other agencies, non-governments, did absolutely nothing. So by the late aughts, when people like me were aging out, which was when the rise of the ASC began, the state did basically a hot potato. Our media does not cover state government, particularly people like us. They do very little coverage, and when it's very generalized. We only have one television station in the state commercially licensed with a news operation. There's 2 other commercially licensed stations, but don't do news. The radio stations don't do news. We do have a public radio station, but it's very Palestine based. And our state absolutely, the Boston stations, unless it's extremely, because we do live in the Boston TV market, we are in the north end of the DMA. The DMA the designated market area defined by Nielsen ratings company, goes up to the Lakes region. That's in terms of TV population, because the DMA is measured by how many televisions are believed to be in the region. So the Boston stations will go to the State House unless it's really It's only the NBC. Oh, I know. I sometimes see. I don't see CVB, WHGH, or WBZ coming up here to New Hampshire as much. WMER has been very territorial, and WMER TV does basically um, propaganda, literally propaganda. If you watch that station, it's propaganda. They don't even do local news anymore. I mean, they'll run 1 hour news, and half of it's promos, half of it's commercials and promos, and wire stories from ABC News One, not local. So to talk about the bad stuff going on in their state, unless it's sexual abuse, unless it's just a new detention center, only that gets news. It kind of sucks that when we don't have a democracy. New Hampshire believes in full representation, even though we're part of the United States of America. They pick and choose when we have constitutional rights, when we have so-called God-given rights, and stuff like that. But when it comes to other things, it's all old white men making decisions. With no input, or in our case, it's old white women running as bureaucrats. Yeah, it is kind of a perceived deep state kind of a thing, but there can be democracy to hold those people accountable. And if we had an attorney general that wasn't in the bed with the state government, see, they pick and choose when they want to be objective. The state's a joke. Literally. I mean, if you're a white French Canadian person that wants to identify him as a business owner, which I find that really weird. That's the only thing that the state is so great. The state's a joke. I want to move out of this state. I want to literally move somewhere other than here. Probably on the border, closer to Maine or Massachusetts. Not Massachusetts, but Maine or Vermont. Probably closer to Maine, the mountains or the coast. But not inland. Not the 93 corridor. Not the people that are so upset that the concrete steps near the Merrimack River in Manchester has got multicolors, and it implies the gay community, and implies groomers. I mean, I'm tired of that innuendo on Facebook. I just was on one of the Facebook groups pages yesterday where my town, there was a SWAT activity, and people were comparing Nashua and Manchester as Trashua and Manchgavestan. And the cities are less than 20 miles apart, and people just hate each other. And I went and made a comment of intrastate terrorism, and the stupid person didn't know what the difference between inter and intra. Didn't even know what the hell I was talking about, because New Hampshire is that retarded. The state is a joke. The state is literally a joke. And I talked a lot about the system, a lot about the government, a lot about the activism versus advocacy, the way that I've been abused as a student and now a client. I've written on my site 13 years of content. And I created this YouTube channel almost a year and a half ago, just to kind of extend with a voice and a face, because I don't like to be a keyboard warrior like the other New Hampshire people. They hide behind an anonymity. They have a name, but they're anonymous. And I have balls. I have integrity. I don't much of a reputation anymore, but I want to break all the tribes and put integrity in the state. The state is literally a joke. I am also very careful if I should be posting and streaming and stuff as much, because the traction is still very low. And so I don't know if I'm doing this. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be doing this. If I should even be on here. But I'm just sick and tired of living in the state. The direction of this channel now is just to tell you how much New Hampshire sucks. Everyone tells you how great New Hampshire is. And that's if you're a white typical person. But and you have a low IQ, because most of these men in the state are dumb as hell. They can put together, they can pave down a street, but they can't fix accounting problems. You know, it requires a little more of a brain. And the problems we have a very gynocentric state. I'm not trying to sound like an incel, but it's women that don't like men. And then we also have a demographic crisis where we have lots of babies, lots of kids going to elementary school, lots of high schoolers, um, college people, no millennials, and older Gen Xers. The average age in this state, I would say 8 out of 10 people are Gen Xers. And then or maybe 6 out of 10. The other 8 out of 10 are, you get it. It's like 40 to 50% Gen Xers. Then you have the kids, and then you have grandmas. And there's very few millennials that come by. Not that I like millennials either, but when I was a kid, there were a lot of millennials, and then they all moved out because they weren't born and raised in New Hampshire, and they're living in very ritzy locales. And I grew up in Londonderry, New Hampshire, where Nathan Greenberg did everything he could to get people up to Harvard level education, if possible. None of our kids went. None of my classmates went to Harvard, but they went to the highest state school or college that was Ivy League. And that cost the state of New Hampshire a lot of money because the state was funding the Londonderry School District. And ironically, 15 years later, most of these kids will never come back home. And Nathan Greenberg still lives in Londonderry, and Kelly Ayotte did not prosecute the shit out of him. The woman that's running for governor, who was the attorney general, and she was attorney general, and she knew the corruption in the state. And again, our media doesn't do the job to question people appropriately and stuff. So that's why I tell you, do not live in New Hampshire. This state is not a free state. It shouldn't be a free state. It's not. You shouldn't do whatever the hell you want. You should be responsibility. There should be accountability, and of course, we're held to the highest account. But when it comes to the typical white person, or woman for that matter, it's not. So that's what I want to be talking more about, how not to live in New Hampshire. I have to get going. Till next time.